Okay, let's get to another matter at hand that may be a surprise to some people in regards to planning their Saturday afternoons watching Iowa football this year. And you caught this from Brett McMurphy today that he tweeted out the Big Ten schedule um, and some of the games that will appear on Peacock. So here we have it. And you would assume, I'll state it that way, that there's obviously a hierarchy to these networks and how much money they pay for the games, and therefore, and the exposure to an audience. So we know that CBS, NBC, and Fox, in some order, have the highest priority games, and I believe Fox still has that distinction of having the highest priority game. And CBS is going to show that 3:30 Eastern game, and then NBC's get the primetime game. And obviously, the Big Ten Network will show the lesser games. But there's also Peacock involved, which I got to think that very few of us have ever watched anything on Peacock. But there are substantial Big Ten games going to be shown on Peacock, and I was unaware of this as well. And two of them involve Iowa.
so this, yeah, this is not going to make people very happy, right? So we knew that Peacock was a part of the new TV deal that was worked out with the Big Ten and these different networks. What I didn't realize, and I guess it's because I didn't study the contract and the agreement when it was first released. What I did not realize was that there are games that are exclusively on Peacock. I was under the impression that football games would be simulcast on Peacock and NBC. And then in basketball, there would be women's basketball games and men's basketball games exclusively on Peacock. And so maybe that just means I was totally ignorant, but it doesn't sound like you really realize that either, Mark. Brett says, again, looking at this schedule, what he's reporting is that Iowa, Michigan State from Kinnick on September 30th will be Peacock in the mid-afternoon. And then the game at Wrigley, Iowa Northwestern, mid-afternoon, will be on Peacock. Now, here's the only thing I question, Mark. And again, maybe this is probably out there, and I've never really gotten intrigued enough by these TV deals and realignment and all this stuff to really dig into this. But could this be there are going to be games exclusively on Peacock in 2023 only because there are less CBS slots due to the SEC's contract continuing with CBS for one more year?
That could be it. Because think about it, folks. ESPN broadcast a lot of Big Ten games. I know that everyone tied the Big Ten to Fox because of the number one selection each week. But ESPN, between ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC, showed a lot of Big Ten games. I can think of a lot of Ohio State games on ABC last year. So a lot of, I would say on the average Saturday that those three networks would show 3 Big Ten games. They would each show an average of 1 Big Ten game. So you're taking away the ESPN number of networks that would scarf up a lot of these games, and you're left with Fox, CBS, and NBC, which are going to be showing. And this isn't even all the time. This would be most of the time that Fox would take the number one game in the Big Ten as its noon selection, noon Eastern time. However, there will be, I would say, 20% of the time that a Big 12 game would garner more attention by Fox and they would grab that game. But most of the time, it's going to be a Big Ten game. CBS is going to have the 3:30 slot and NBC in prime time. And if the Big Ten Network, with 14 teams playing, and this is during the conference season, each playing each other, you've got a total of 7 games. So you got 7 time slots. And if you've got Fox, CBS, and NBC, and then you've got a triple header on the Big Ten Network, that's 6 games. So you've got 1 left over. Bingo, it's on Peacock. Now, the next step for me would be assuming, before I thought it through a little bit, and you name some of these matchups, well, Peacock's going to show the worst game. They're going to kick the worst game to Peacock. No.
I guarantee you Maryland at Ohio State,
No.
October 7th is not the worst game on. I mean, that's
Exactly.
a good, solid game.
Yes. It was a really good game. That was the highest rated game on ABC for that particular week when they played last year, and it was a really good game.
And I guarantee you, Mark, again, not looking at the ratings, you've looked at these ratings. Iowa usually is very high in those ratings.
Yeah,
compared to
I
the rest of the
I
Big
am
Ten.
going to say off the top of my head, and I ran a series on TV ratings that Ohio State and Michigan just had
Sure.
just incredible ratings. Then after that, between Penn State and Iowa, and maybe Wisconsin had the best TV ratings in the conference. Yes, and then there was a significant drop off.
And I was surprised by Iowa Northwestern at Wrigley Field.
But
But
see,
again,
this is it. It's not necessarily the worst. Illinois, Maryland. I doubt if that's the worst game. Ohio State, because of the eyeballs they bring, in a sense, from a TV perspective, is never the worst game. It could be the worst game on the field. But they are,
Minnesota and Purdue were two of the three best,
yeah.
probably two of the three best teams in the West last year.
Um, yeah, I'm not going to start to analyze the numbers versus the quality of the teams. But anyway, they're setting this up. So Peacock is a draw. It's not going to be Northwestern and Rutgers and those teams every week, Indiana on Peacock every week. They want to pull people to Peacock.
And as far as so I saw somebody in the chat say, well, isn't there a free version of Peacock? There is, last I knew, but I don't believe these are going to be shown. I could be wrong on that. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that, but I'm guessing that these are going to be subscription-only games. And for the people that cry about, well, I have to pay some money. First of all, it's a 3-month season. If you got 2 games, 2 different months, okay, you may have to pay $20. That's not my issue. My only issue is for the older people. And believe me, I'm not some crotchety old guy who cries about having to download apps and my smartphone's smarter than I am, whatever. No, I'm not that way. But what I do acknowledge is there are a lot of older fans that aren't even going to know how to download Peacock. That's my other thing. Like, I got a grandmother out in California she's kind of a surrogate grandmother out in California. She has no idea what she's not gonna be able to get Peacock. So she's just gonna have to not watch the game. Because she doesn't know what she's doing as it relates to these things.
Yeah.
That's just reality.
So that's an issue. People's lack of technical knowledge to get the streaming device and the service, but it's also just a matter of convenience, meaning that when you watch all your college football on a TV set, you are flipping to channels. That's your only device you're dealing with. Oh, well, if I want to see this game at noon and it's on television, then I need to see the 3:30 or the 2:30 Central Time game and it's on a streaming device, and then somebody else is playing later and it's on a different streaming device. Well, I got to subscribe to this and I got to subscribe to that and I got to subscribe to this over here and I got to have. No, people are not. There are a lot of people that won't do that.
I know.
They'll either stop watching some college football or they'll just watch whatever game's on. They'll just leave ESPN or Fox on all day and watch.
So again, to make clear what I brought up earlier, and I think you kind of alluded to it too, 2023 is a transition year for CBS. So they still have a contract with the SEC. So 2023 overlaps with the two conferences. Next year, the SEC contract with CBS will be null and void. It'll be gone. They'll shift over to the ESPN family of networks exclusively. I think is that an exclusive deal with ESPN, Mark? I think it is.
Yes.
Disney. So they'll shift over there, and the Big Ten will have basically exclusive rights to CBS. So my point is, this year there are going to be SEC games filling slots that next year and beyond Big Ten games will fill. So that means now, I asked you the question before we went live. If you're NBC and you're CBS, like those, they have other network. Wouldn't it be great for CBS Sports Network to throw, Iowa Northwestern on? Like CBS,
Yeah.
nobody watches CBS Sports Network. And let me
No,
tell you something else. Nobody watches NBC Sports Network. But those are channels if people are still on cable or satellite, they have those channels in their sports packages. But as you said, if we're transitioning to where we're trying to get people to sign up and subscribe, I don't know how they reason on these things. I think eventually we're probably going to be streaming everything anyways. I don't know what the reasoning is on, okay, should we go with a smaller network like a Fox Sports 1, or should we go with something like whatever Fox's, they have a streaming service too, don't they? You know what I'm saying? Or CBS Sports Network, or should we go Paramount Plus? I don't know what the infrastructure looks like, and the technicalities, the money, how that all works out.
And what you're also, I think, speaking to, and maybe you said this and I didn't quite catch it in that, is we know that there are a certain amount of people that would be more apt to, yeah, just switch on their cable or satellite and find a game, an Iowa game in this instance, on CBS Sportsnet versus downloading an app, signing up
Yeah.
for a subscription on stream. But we do know also that that group that's in the latter category of subscribing and doing streaming, that is growing, and the other one is shrinking. Now, the
Yes.
former group is still probably quite larger than the other. The other issue with the CBS Sportsnet, I'm going to guess, is they show college football all day on Saturday. And
Yeah,
again,
they play crap football
nobody,
games all day Saturday.
well,
They play UMass, and they play the Minutemen versus New
yes,
Mexico State.
Iowa is going to be playing one of those teams that they show on a regular basis the first week of the season. Utah State, they play it's a lot of Mountain West, and it's a lot of lower end American Conference, Conference USA, etc. A lot of Group of Five with a lot of Mountain West involved. Okay, based on their contracts with those conferences, maybe they don't have a time slot. Maybe they've committed all that time to those other conferences.
Yeah, so I don't know the legalities and all that stuff, but wouldn't it make sense if you have the Minutemen of UMass taking on the Miners of UTEP, right? If you got those two teams playing on CBS Sports mid-afternoon, maybe move them over to Peacock?
If they are able to do that.
Yeah,
but you're mixing Peacocks at NBC platform.
I'm sorry. No, that's not what I meant. I'm sorry. If I'm using Peacock because we're talking about Peacock, but I'm saying moving forward, if CBS Sports has UTEP and UMass, maybe move them to Paramount Plus, and because that's all CBS umbrella. That's what I'm saying.
You're right, Chris. What's wrong with Massachusetts? Corey is picking on Massachusetts football.
Well, they've been terrible. They've been terrible for quite a long time, Mark.
I know. Yeah. Our guy Tony Altimore is working on a formula. I believe it's finished, and with other TV oriented industry people have worked out a formula, and I'm going to test this out for week 1, and we're going to do a show where basically he says that 87% of each TV rating is determined by 3 factors. Number 1, what network it's on. So if you took UMass and UTEP and put them on Fox noon, the rating would for them would be astronomical compared to what they would normally draw somewhere else.
Sure.
There's a certain amount of people that they flip on Fox at noon Eastern time every Saturday, and that's what they're watching regardless.
Right.
So a part of the formula is that just where is the game? If it's on a major network, people are going to watch it regardless of what game it is. Number 2, it's the ranking of the teams. That goes into your ranking business right there, that people just know, oh, this is number 7 and number 14. I'm going to watch this game. And number 3 is the historic relevance of the brand. You know, if Texas is down, but it's Texas, they're still going to draw big audiences.
Yeah. Well, so just real quick, there are games on NBC Sports Network too. It's not like they don't show college football games. They do. So I don't know why I brought up CBS Sports Network and Paramount Plus, but there are games on NBC Sports Network. Who gets televised on that network, Mark?
Notre Dame.
No. NBC Sports Network.
I have no idea.
But there are games there. So,
yeah,
like I said, whatever games are there, this obviously isn't as simple as I'm making it out to be. That's the whole point.
On Saturday afternoon, until streaming really takes over, I've been able to be satisfied with Fox, FS1, ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC network, the Pac-12 network, the ACC network. CBS, by the time I get to all those networks, I got plenty of games on. So
On a different note, I'm guessing that this whole new TV deal means the end of the Big Ten Network regional alternate network.
maybe not. I don't think so.
What it
I
appears
think it's
that way
still
to
going to
me.
be needed.
Why would that be needed? What would it be needed for? For non-conference?
Yeah, 14 games.
Okay. Well, but the 14 games per week, but I mean, they're not going to fall under the Big Ten umbrella necessarily.
True.
Iowa State does not fall under the Big Ten umbrella this year with it being at Jack Trice.
True.
So
I
don't know.
Most of them will. Most of them will be played. Yeah. Say 11 of 14 would be my guess. Most of the time, something in that range.
Yeah. So I guess gear up. This is a report from Breck McMurphy. Nothing's been announced because when when more people see this news, even though it was out there and we knew there was a possibility of this happening, there are going to be people who are upset.
I believe we were taken off guard, similar to the upper echelon teams in the Big Ten about 2 months ago when it was announced, and they came to the realization that they would have to play night games in November on NBC. Remember that uproar?
Yes, I do. And that's, yeah.
If you're Michigan, you're shocked that NBC is going to want to show you in November in primetime. Like you thought that was all those games were going elsewhere.
I just checked this official schedule. Yeah, none of the Peacock games have been officially announced. What we do know officially, not counting what Brett McMurphy's reporting, we do know that Game 1 is on FS1. We know that Game 2 against Iowa State's Fox. Game 3 against Western Michigan's Big Ten Network. Game 4 against Penn State's CBS. And then the last game of the season against Nebraska's CBS on Black Friday. Besides that, none of the other ones have officially been announced. So if this report is true, then 2 of those games are Peacock, and my guess is the other ones we may not know until I'm surprised that if this is true, why would that even need to be released at this point? Why wouldn't these? I guess there's always games that don't get announced until the week prior. But wouldn't you want to see where Iowa and Michigan State are by September 30th? Wouldn't you want to see what Iowa's playing for before November 4th?
Yes.
So that surprises me a little bit that these are already apparently set.
You know what I think is hilarious is that CBS's first Big Ten game that is going to be shown on CBS since, I believe, 1986. The first Big Ten game on CBS. Do you know what game it is?
It's not West Virginia Penn State because that's on NBC.
Week 1. Yeah.
Week 1. No, I don't have no idea.
It's actually on. Well, I'm sorry.
Oh,
it may technically not be the first game.
Is it Illinois?
Playing.
Is it a pretty non?
Yeah, I bring it up because of this. Actually, it may not be the first game. The first game's on Saturday, I would think, unless there's a SEC game. I'd have to look this up. But there's a Sunday game because, of course, on Labor Day weekend, we've got football from Thursday night all the way through Monday night. There's a noon game on Sunday with no NFL games. There's a noon Big Ten game on the first Sunday of the season.
I didn't even realize that.
Rutgers and Northwestern.
They really pulled out the big guns.
You know how I found that out? I found that out because Gary Danielson, Todd Blackledge, and Joel Klatt each represented their networks and were introducing the coaches. So when Gary Danielson took the podium and they each let everyone know this is the first game that I'm assigned to, first Big Ten game in week 1. Gary Danielson said CBS, noon Eastern time, Sunday, Northwestern Rutgers. I just thought, Gary Danielson has been calling nothing but the game of the week in the SEC for 15 years, and his first assignment is Northwestern and Rutgers. He's going to think he dropped to the high school ranks or something.
Well, I'll say this. So is that the week? Is that the week prior to the start of the NFL season?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why they can get away with it. That's a good. I mean, I have no problem with having Big Ten games on Sunday that first week. Why not?
I think it's great.
I think it's great for college football to utilize that 1 week where they're in action before, and frankly, week 0, you could do the same thing week 0 if you got more teams involved week 0. I know a lot of coaches don't want to have to play week 0. I think Kirk would. I almost guarantee you Kirk would object to that if one of his teams was ever asked to play week 0. So, anyways.
Yeah. So let's see, of course, the Big Ten openers, Nebraska, Minnesota on Thursday night. Michigan State plays on a Friday against Central Michigan. And then on Saturday, the myriad of games, including Iowa playing on FS1 at noon Eastern, 11 Central against Utah State. And then, yes, here on Sunday. This is great that there's a triple header of college football on Sunday.
And they're all good games. I should say, hold on. They're all the potential to be competitive games, every one of them.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And of course, the last game is a marquee matchup.
But Oregon State at San Jose State is going to. What was San Jose State last year?
What were they last year? I think they were like 6-7.
Okay, maybe
I might be wrong on that.
It is on the road.
They were really good a couple of years ago. They won the Mountain West, but they did not last year.
Okay. But
we're going to have to do a big breakdown on Utah State, by the way, here in a couple of weeks. We have how many more shows before the game?
2.
2 more? Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today will be game week.
Okay.
And by the way, Oregon State fans better get used to seeing San Jose. Better get used to trips down to San Jose State.
Yes.
This is the reality of it.
Now, if we've got any Oregon State fans on the chat, I'm going to apologize for Corey because they're probably not seeing this as comedic as you are.